It's Tech News Day, and for the first time in a while, this show is going to be entirely focused on technology.
What?
Yay?
Whoa!
Except, yeah, it's all AI.
Okay.
But before we dive headfirst into the slop pond, let's discuss one of the few remaining bastions of the internet that steadfastly remains slop-free. One of the few things on the internet that to this day remains pretty great is the existence of Wikipedia.
All of the knowledge of human history in one convenient location for free.
Yeah, obviously, like any teacher or professor will tell you, Wikipedia, like any encyclopedia, is not a primary source, and due to the nature of how its articles are created, you shouldn't just blindly trust anything you read on there. It's not perfect, but no source of human-curated information is, or even can be. And if we're being real here, your teachers mainly said that stuff so you'd actually do the goddamn work.
Yeah, I mean, history books probably aren't accurate either.
Depends on what state you're being educated in.
Yeah.
And ironically, Wikipedia is a great place to start for doing the damn work, thanks to the way that everything contained in a Wikipedia article is backed up by a citation that you can go and read for yourself. If you're looking for reliable, factual information about something that you know nothing about, it's objectively better to look it up on Wikipedia and then browse through the references section than simply Googling it and trusting Google's SEO, or asking a clanker chatbot about it.
Yeah, Wikipedia is good in that for being such a democratized service, it actually does a great job of telling a pretty accurate description of anything it's talking about. And the good thing is that in a lot of cases, you can just go in and check and see how many times it's been updated, by who, what IP addresses. There's a lot of sources.
You can really pop open the hood if you want.
Yeah. Now, the reason Wikipedia is so great, or in a great way to get information about something, is that its articles are created and maintained by just this massive army of volunteer human editors. And while this might initially sound a bit untrustworthy, Wikipedia is designed with full transparency in mind. On every article page, right at the top, you can see a list of every edit made to the article, as well as a talk page where you can see Wikipedia's editors discuss and debate everything about the article, from its sourcing to its grammar. This is also a pretty useful reference point for researching more controversial topics, since there's going to be a ton of stuff on the talk page that's relevant, but for reasons that are very clearly laid out on the talk page, aren't included in the article. And while technically anyone can log on and become a Wikipedia editor, in practice it's not really that simple. In its nearly quarter-century of existence, they've developed complex and effective systems and policies for minimizing what they call vandalism and wiki-washing. And it's all very transparent. You could spend all day reading about how Wikipedia works if you want to, but it's been dialed in over 25 years.
Like within Wikipedia, there is a Wikipedia about how Wikipedia works.
Mm-hmm.
And you can lose quite a lot of time going through it and understanding it, but they've created a system. It is like the pinnacle of how the open internet is supposed to work.
Yes.
The democratization of data that was foretold back in the early days, and it's pretty much one of the only lasting remaining examples of this.
Yeah, I would say probably the two most important sites still operating from the original old internet days are probably Wikipedia and archive.org.
Yeah, and both of those
are always at risk.
Yeah, always teetering on the edge of a cliff.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest reasons Wikipedia has remained so useful for so long is that its parent company, the Wikimedia Foundation, is a 501c3 nonprofit that generates all of its revenue through donations, the majority of which come from individual donors dropping some change in the tip jar every once in a while, which you should do if you use it.
Yes.
They also do have a ton of big money and corporate donors, and the list is quite long. But never in its entire existence has it even been alleged that a donor gave them money in exchange for positive coverage. And due to the way Wikipedia works, that kind of thing would be impossible anyway. So we've just laid out the basic gist of what makes Wikipedia the best possible version of an open source online encyclopedia, but not everyone agrees.
Yeah, what's that word? Wokepedia?
Oh,
jeez. Oh, not what Wikipedia gone woke.
They made it too easy. Now, some people think that Wikipedia has a clear left-wing bias that drowns out conservative points of view. And these people never stop to think that perhaps it is merely reality that has that left-wing bias that you hate so much. And yeah, this is nothing new. Back in 2006, a right-winger created Conservapedia as a solution to this, and it remains one of the most unintentionally funny things in existence, and a very useful tool for seeing the world through the eyes of conservatives on just about any topic. When you hear a conservative say some shit that sounds meaningless to your ears, I highly recommend heading over to Conservapedia and pulling up the relevant article, and it will grant you some valuable insight into what the hell they're going on about.
Elliot, I'm already halfway there. I make sure before going to see any movie that I consult with the Christian Mother Society and their ratings system to make sure I'm not going to see anything that is going to be disturbing, offensive,
I do think I get a little more artisanal with it. I consult the National Review movie critic Armand White to see what the deal is with all the new releases. Because like Conservapedia, Armand White's movie reviews are genuinely very entertaining to me.
Well, it's the problem with Conservapedia is that it totally wears its bias on its sleeve. It's totally over the top and only appeals to right-wingers and just repels everyone else. For many people, Conservapedia and Wikipedia are just two sides of the same coin. Why can't we just have an online encyclopedia that presents pure objective truth? Is such a thing even possible when humans are involved? Well, everyone, luckily we live in the age of AI.
Yes.
So glad I wasn't born in any other time period. But AI is totally unbiased.
Totally.
As long as you ignore the fact that large language models source their data from human sources and operate according to instructions from humans. And as we've seen from Elon Musk, you can kind of just turn a little dial.
The racism dial.
Yeah, but otherwise, totally unbiased. And that's why Elon Musk created the totally unbiased Grokipedia.
Just rolls off the tongue.
I know, it's a beautiful word. Beautiful word. It's Wikipedia, but without all the woke bias and propaganda. And all they had to do was tell Grok, do a Wikipedia, but without all the wokeness.
Easy.
Now, instead of having to place all of your trust in a sinister army of faceless volunteer editors, you can place your trust in Grok, who has never done anything to make anyone question its devotion to the truth.
Nope. Grok has been on the level this whole time and has definitely not had regular moments of revealing some pretty troubling things about its sourcing and prompting.
Yeah.
It's never happened. Grok, if Grok says it, it is the truth. It is the objective truth.
I would say, without even consulting the information available on Grokipedia, as everyone knows, you can download the entirety of Wikipedia in a relatively small file, and I would assume that on some level, especially for stuff that isn't currently written out by Grok and double-checked by Elon to make sure it passes the smell test, that Grok is coming up with these entries out of whole cloth. So probably consuming a lot of data and processing power. Meanwhile, Wikipedia is like a .txt file that's probably like less than a kilobyte.
Hey, it might not be efficient or good or really anything beyond a vanity project, but it's not woke.
Yeah,
It's not woke.
It does line up with your pre-existing notions about the world.
It does reflect my own beliefs back to me, and that's warm and fuzzy.
Just buy a mirror. Just buy a mirror.
So at first glance, Grokipedia, it seems like a pretty straightforward ripoff of Wikipedia. And the only thing that really stands out is that somehow they made it difficult to look at in both day mode and night mode. I've never encountered this before in my life, but I was like, oh, God, my eyes. Let me switch to day mode. Oh, God, my eyes. Let me switch to night mode. Oh, God, my eyes. I don't understand. I think it's the formatting. Like, Wikipedia at least has, like, images and stuff. Grokipedia has none of that. Wikipedia, like, spaces the text. And I think it might be the font as well. Whatever font they're using.
Do you think that
it's a font that Elon thought was cool, but is actually not very pleasant to be reading large chunks of text with.
Do you think the font was created by Grokipedia too, and that is why it is unsettling and just a little bit off to look at?
Could be.
Like it is like slightly different from Arial or like Times New Roman, but just enough to just throw you off a little bit. Maybe it's maybe the actual articles are just images. We don't know.
The articles themselves are generally on a surface level fine, though that is probably thanks to Grok just straight up regurgitating Wikipedia articles.
It has to get its information from somewhere.
Yeah, it seems like the majority of information on Grokipedia is literally just it downloaded Wikipedia and used Wikipedia, except in places where it seemed too woke or something. Yeah. It hit the woke threshold. But yeah, you dig a little deeper and things start to feel a little bit off. For example, here's a section from the entry for Elon Musk. Musk's public persona blends innovative visionary with irreverent provocateur, amplified through prolific activity on X, formerly Twitter, where he shares memes, engages followers directly, and posts over 20,000 public tweets analyzed for themes of humor, product promotion, and personal anecdotes. That's a weird sentence. This approach fosters an image of accessibility and cultural fluency, using memes as marketing tools and performative gestures, like saluting flags or AI-generated content, to rally supporters, though critics attribute it to echo chamber dynamics and impulsivity. His unfiltered style, including jokes about private matters and rapid-fire commentary, contrasts traditional CEO restraint, positioning him as a meme lord billionaire who leverages social media for influence beyond business.
Even that glazed write-up makes him sound insufferable and like a bad person.
It's also just horribly written.
Yes, it's nonsense, gobbledygook.
Yeah, there were multiple sentences in there where I'm like, I don't know exactly what you're trying to say here.
Well, it's probably coming out of, a 7-paragraph thing where it's trying to not be mean, so it's withholding a bunch of stuff and smashing sentences together.
Here, digest all this information, but glaze me a little bit.
Yeah. Two of the sources listed in that section are New York Times articles, but it also references an article without an author byline that feels possibly AI generated, contains images that are definitely AI generated, and is part of a series of articles that all scream AI. This is the kind of source that would never make it onto a Wikipedia article, not just for those reasons, but also because Elon Musk is one of the most reported on people in the world, and there's no shortage of factual reporting on him from countless reliable sources. But this is just a small example of how Grokipedia's sourcing is different from Wikipedia's, and it's no surprise that Grok would glaze its creator like that. But the problems get worse when you take a look at articles about political and culture war topics. And Wired did exactly that. Here's some of what they found.
The Grokipedia entry about the slavery of African Americans in the U.S. includes a section outlining numerous ideological justifications made for slavery, including the shift from necessary evil to positive good. The end of the entry focuses on criticisms of the 1619 Project, which it says incorrectly framed slavery as the central engine of the nation's political, economic, and cultural development. Entries for more recent historical events put conservative perspectives at the center. When Wired searched for gay marriage in Grokipedia, no entry popped up, but one of the on-screen suggestions was for gay pornography instead. This entry in Grokipedia falsely states that the proliferation of porn exacerbated the HIV/AIDS epidemic in the 1980s. This marked the onset of what would become a devastating crisis disproportionately affecting gay male communities, where behaviors idealized in pornography, such as unprotected receptive anal intercourse and multiple anonymous partners, aligned directly with primary transmission routes, leading to rapid seroconversion rates, the Grokipedia entry claims. This is like almost a Conservapedia thing for me. So I've never heard someone blame the AIDS epidemic on pornography. Mm-hmm. I feel like, I've heard a lot of fucked up explanations, but this is a new one. Mm-hmm. It's sort of bespoke. And I'm happy I read that because I'd never heard that before. I'm like, all right, that's interesting.
Oh, yeah. Well, the Grokipedia entry for transgender includes 2 mentions of transgenderism, a term commonly used to denigrate trans people. The entry also refers to trans women as biological males who have generated significant conflicts, primarily centered on risks to women's safety, privacy, and sex-based protections established to mitigate male-perpetrated violence. The opening section highlights social media as a potential contagion that is increasing the number of trans people. Wired magazine's entry in Grokipedia mentions Musk's own criticism of the publication. High-profile detractors, including Elon Musk in February 2025, have labeled Wired as devolving into far left-wing propaganda, arguing it abandoned technology-focused reporting for ideologically driven narratives that normalize heavy-handed oversight of private enterprise, the entry says. Grokipedia also claims Wired is emblematic of the mainstream media's systemic leftward lean. The entry for U.S. President Donald Trump also includes a swipe at the media for its allegedly left-leaning bias and coverage of the ongoing federal government shutdown. It accuses CNN and the New York Times of amplifying shutdown narratives that attribute blame primarily to Republicans, despite bipartisan failures. CNN and the New York Times did not immediately respond to requests for comment.
Again, say what you will about Conservapedia, but it at least does this in a way that's interesting and entertaining. This is different. This is clearly just a chatbot that has been given instructions to create encyclopedia entries in the style of Wikipedia, but just less woke. And the chatbot has done so both in the language that it uses and the sources it references. And when you consider mainstream centrist sources like the New York Times and the BBC to be woke, as Elon Musk does, you're going to end up getting your information from lower quality sources and create lower quality articles that only really serve to confirm your existing biases. Elon Musk is not interested in truth. He's interested in having his worldview reflected back in him. And that's the worldview of an obscenely wealthy and thin-skinned man who has absolutely fried his brain from spending too much time on the internet and believing every right-wing slop account that comes across his feed. What he's doing with Grokipedia is essentially what he did with Twitter, which, at the end of the day, was really just an absurdly expensive way to improve Elon's own user experience online, seeing more of the stuff that he likes and less of the stuff that he doesn't like. This, of course, resulted in a significantly worse product for everyone else. And here's 404 Media giving a pretty good breakdown of how Grokipedia is a huge downgrade from Wikipedia.
Wednesday, as part of his ongoing war against Wikipedia because he does not like his page, Elon Musk launched Grokipedia, a fully AI-generated encyclopedia that serves no one and nothing other than the ego of the world's richest man. As others have already pointed out, Grokipedia seeks to be a right-wing, anti-woke Wikipedia competitor. But to even call it a Wikipedia competitor is to give the half-assed project too much credit. It is not a Wikipedia competitor at all. It is a fully robotic, heartless regurgitation machine that cynically and indiscriminately sucks up the work of humanity to serve the interests, protect the ego, amplify the viewpoints, and further enrich the world's wealthiest man. It is a totem of what Wikipedia could and would become if you were to strip all the humans out and hand it over to a robot. In that sense, Grokipedia is a useful warning because of the constant pressure and attacks by AI slop purveyors to push AI-generated content into Wikipedia. And it is only getting attention, of course, because Elon Musk does represent an actual threat to Wikipedia through his political power, wealth, and obsession with the website, as well as the fact that he owns a huge social media platform.
One needs only spend a few minutes clicking around the launch version of Grokipedia to understand that it lacks the human touch that makes Wikipedia such a valuable resource. Besides often having a conservative slant and having the general hallmarks of AI writing, Grokipedia pages are overly long, poorly and confusingly organized, have no internal linking, have no photos, and are generally not written in a way that makes any sense. There is zero insight into how any of the articles were generated, how information was obtained and ordered, any edits that were made, no version history, etc. Grokipedia is literally simply a single black box LLM's version of an encyclopedia. There's a reason Wikipedia editors are called editors, and it's because writing a useful encyclopedia entry does not mean putting down random facts in no discernible order. To use an example I noticed from simply clicking around, the list of notable people in the Grokipedia entry for Baltimore begins with a disordered list of recent mayors. Perhaps the least interesting but lowest hanging fruit type of data scraping about a place that could be done.
Probably the biggest question the existence of Grokipedia raises is, who the hell is actually going to use this? I mean, the target audience for Grokipedia already has Grok, and using Grok instead of other chatbots is definitely a choice. In real time, they can ask Grok literally anything, no matter how broad or specific, and if they find Grok's answers to have even a hint of wokeness, they can ask Grok to try again, but without the wokeness. Using Grok instead of a search engine or Wikipedia is obviously not ideal, but if you're already doing that, why would you use Grokipedia, which is essentially just a database of static, pre-generated prompt responses? Grokipedia has no real reason to exist beyond Elon Musk's personal dislike of Wikipedia, and the only thing it really accomplishes is highlighting what makes Wikipedia so great. So, yeah, in that sense, job well done.
Yeah, it really, that's the thing is, and the Trump era, I guess, has been great for that. We take a lot of things for granted.
Mm-hmm.
Things that we're like, yeah, this isn't great, could be better. But then you see the alternative and you're like, you know what? I don't know what I was complaining about.
This
that
happens
pretty good
frequently with the ACA.
Yeah.
Depending on whether you call it Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Although our healthcare in this country could objectively be better.
Oh, well, obviously, yes. But that's just always a thing where it pops up and it's the people who clearly voted against it and didn't want anything to do with it do actually benefit from it and are constantly surprised that Republicans would try to take that away.
Yeah, it's not great, but you get rid of it, things get a lot worse.
Yeah.
And maybe Obamacare wasn't so evil like you thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you were actually benefiting from it in ways that you weren't even conscious of.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on to our next bit of AI news today. And for this, we turn now once again to our old friend, Phil Larigo, who begged us. He begged us, please, let me come on the show and rant again. This time about what seems like a truly terrible, stupid idea that will inevitably go horribly wrong.
So I had to call my bank last week, and after jumping through the hoops and verifying my information and beep booping with the automated system, the robot asked me if I would like to set up voice biometrics to make things easier next time I call. It claimed that using my voice to validate my account is secure and convenient. I said no. 3 days later, I had the pleasure of having to call the gas company, and they asked me the exact same thing via their automated system. Do I want to set up voice biometrics to verify myself on future calls so I don't have to deal with pesky stuff like account numbers? So let's educate ourselves before we jump on the most obvious, painfully obvious issue with all of this. I did a search for AI voice fingerprint customer service. I was like, what's the dumbest way I can put this? And the first result is this: Call Center Studio. This isn't likely even the software that either of these companies is using, but it's something in the ballpark, all right? So hey, call center company man people, can you guys explain some of your features? Voice biometrics is an identification system that uses a person's inherent vocal features to identify them. It's also known as AI support technology that provides a safe way to protect customers' information. It's a strong, safe, second time they're using that word, and convenient security method that is sometimes called voice authentication. All right, you guys know any vulnerabilities about your product? Noisy background. Voice authentication is always very sensitive to voice. So if an audio input is collected in a noisy area, it may produce a false positive or negative result. Susceptible to voice replication breaches. One of the common drawbacks of this type of biometric is the duplication of voice samples. Although voice biometrics are difficult to replicate, methods such as deepfake voice technology can accurately simulate someone's voice. Okay. Let's go back to July of this year. Sam Altman says AI has defeated bank voice ID protections. A thing that terrifies me is apparently there are still some financial institutions that will accept the voice print as authentication. That is a crazy thing to still be doing. AI has fully defeated that. Right now, it's a voice call. Soon, it's going to be a video or a FaceTime that's indistinguishable from reality. Sam has been known to exaggerate from time to time, so this hasn't actually happened, right? The scenario Altman described happened in real life. In 2024, a finance worker in Hong Kong transferred $25 million to scammers following a video call with what appeared to be the company's chief financial officer and other executives. In reality, every participant on the call was a deep fake. Put it up. All right, get it out of here now. Get it out of here. I can't stand it. Okay, here's the kicker. None of this is new. This is a major plot point in the 1992 Robert Redford movie Sneakers. In 2016, NVIDIA claimed that it only needed 30 minutes of speech to clone someone's voice. And there are countless AI voice and cloning sites currently available that are very easy to use. Some people say 11 Labs is the best AI cloning tool. And what's to stop anyone from, say, secretly recording an elderly family member for hours and then training an AI to clone their voice, calling the bank, and using that AI clone to empty their bank account? Or, let's see, what's another really cool one? Oh, maybe someone is posing as a parent of a child and then calling that child's school with the fake parent voice and then kind of like social engineering their way into kidnapping the child. Or, all right, let me see what else we got. Using it to call a very powerful 79-year-old man who may have mental issues and is very susceptible to flattery and refuses to use a government phone, and you could manipulate him into doing something that could theoretically blow up the entire planet. Like, what are we doing? Like, as a species, what is our goal here with AI? Most people say it's AGI, artificial general intelligence, when artificial intelligence is at or has surpassed human intelligence. In August, Sam Altman said that AGI is not a super useful term, but he's also implied that OpenAI is building God. I wonder how that's going to work out for us. You know, getting God to obey us after we build them. We're not at God yet, but AI is everywhere. If you watch sports, if you watch television, the ads are wall to wall. And some people literally cannot get away from it. Like Microsoft employees who are told using AI is no longer optional. Here's how that's going to go. So an employee is going to use Copilot or Outlook or whatever software to expand bullet points that they type in into this big, grandiose email full of impeccable prose. And their boss is going to go, I ain't reading all that. So then the boss is going to use AI to summarize those big, bloated emails all the way down to bullet points. Likely the same bullet points the employees used to prompt the AI to write the big, long email to the boss. Which takes us full circle back to my call to the bank. Banks are using AI to analyze voice biometrics as a form of security. And scammers are going to use AI to create voice clones to bypass the voice biometrics. Well, then the bank's going to have to go and update their software and their AI. You see where this is going? It's just a cat and mouse game, like when an iPhone gets jailbroken, then Apple patches that iPhone, and guess what? It gets jailbroken again. It's just this time it's not like people hacking iPhones. It's an AI middleman who's using so much electricity and boiling the oceans and costing billions and billions of dollars. But at least the AI is good at its job, right? So I was looking up a Yelp review for a restaurant. I'm scrolling. And I see here, I saw this 4-star review that's largely positive, except for a comment that the service wasn't amazing. And how did the owner respond? He didn't. He had ChatGPT respond for him. It said, we appreciate your honest feedback about the service as well, and we'll be sure to share it with our team to ensure every visit feels as attentive as it should. Wait. So the owner of this restaurant, George S., now takes orders from ChatGPT. He's going to talk to the team because the AI baked into Yelp told him to? I wonder what happens when there's a 1-star review. What's ChatGPT going to say then? Nothing, because George S. responds directly to 1-star reviews. Look down there. There's no mention of ChatGPT in his reply. Now, this is a really small but very damning detail about AI like ChatGPT. If George S. trusts the AI to say the right thing, he would have it reply to all the reviews. But 1-star reviews can sink your business. So he deals with those directly. This guy cares about his business enough to tell the AI, hey, sit down. Daddy's going to handle these 1-star reviews. And he actually can stop using AI whenever he wants to, because unlike Microsoft, he doesn't have a massive stake in an AI company. All right, here's your tip, your good news for the week. Don't fall for the hype of AI. If you can get ahead of that, then you're not going to be disappointed. And for the love of God, don't fall in love with an AI if you are talking to an AI chatbot. And if you're looking for more of me outside of this, you can follow me over on Blue Sky. I'm much more fun over there. I'm not a doomer. It's mostly jokes and some tech stuff, and it's fun. I'm a much better hang over there. Don't follow me on Twitter, though. I haven't checked it in a long time, and I have no plans on going back to that cesspool. And that, it's not a rap fact, because the rap facts are getting replaced by AI. So don't blame me. Blame Sam Altman. That wasn't a good point.
Thank you, Phil. You've once again filled us all with anger and dread. But speaking of AI biometrics, the idea that someone can point a camera at you and instantly identify you and pull up relevant personal information has been one of the more troubling things to come out of AI in the past few years. But not only because of the obvious privacy implications, but because this technology is not perfect. And when it screws up, it seems to disproportionately affect people of color due to inherent biases. So it is no surprise that ICE is so fond of using it. They love it. Like a modern Gestapo, ICE agents work to hit their quotas by just stopping anyone that they suspect of being undocumented and demanding their papers. But unlike the Gestapo, If someone refuses to hand over documents or isn't carrying them, they've got a smartphone app that they can point at people's faces, and then it just searches government databases for an ID match, along with what the data says about the person's legal status.
Cool. Now, this is one of those things where a lot of people are probably going to act confused. So what's the problem here? What? If you haven't done anything wrong, if you got nothing to hide, who cares? Let them do it. Except those people probably would not feel that way if it was them being racially profiled and subjected to this sort of thing just for existing.
Or being filmed by law enforcement at any point during their day, and having that happen at a higher rate than others.
Yeah, if you were treated as just inherently potentially guilty of a crime anytime you left the house or even when you were at home, you might not like the idea of a bunch of goons running around wanting to take your picture.
Yeah.
But it should also be troubling to everyone, considering the huge amount of personal data that's been put into the hands of law enforcement officers who are wildly unprofessional, even by cop standards, which is really saying something. 404 Media were the first to report on this back in June via some leaked emails, and this week they reported on how things have played out over the past few months. You don't got no ID? A Border Patrol agent in a baseball cap, sunglasses, and neck gaiter asks a kid on a bike. The officer and 3 others had just stopped the 2 young men on their bikes during the day in what a video documenting the incident says is Chicago. One of the boys is filming the encounter on his phone. He says in the video he was born here, meaning he would be an American citizen. When the boy says he doesn't have ID on him, the Border Patrol officer has an alternative. He calls over to one of the other officers. Can you do facial? The second officer then approaches the boy, gets him to turn around to face the sun, and points his own phone camera directly at him, hovering it over the boy's face for a couple of seconds. The officer then looks at his phone screen and asks for the boy to verify his name. The video stops.
In another video of a different incident, this time filmed from the perspective of a driver that authorities have also apparently stopped in Chicago, a group of ICE officers surround the driver's side window. One of the officers, wearing a vest from Immigration and Customs Enforcement's ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, ERO, tells one of his coworkers the driver is refusing to be ID'd. The second ICE official then points his own phone camera at the driver. I'm an American citizen, so leave me alone, the driver says. All right, we just got to verify that, one of the officers says, with some of the group peering at the phone. The officer with the phone points the camera at the driver again and asks him to remove his hat. If you could take your hat off, it'd be a lot quicker, the ICE officer says. I'm going to run your information. Okay, so yeah, they're literally just stopping people for not being white. And despite the total lack of probable cause, they're scanning these people's faces and using a sketchy app called Mobile Fortify to run them through a bank of 200 million images sourced from multiple government databases to figure out their immigration status. Now, the term Orwellian, it has lost all meaning, but this is some pretty Orwellian shit.
Yeah, it's also, I mean, this is one of the subplots of this Trump administration that hasn't gotten a ton of attention, but is very troubling, is, all these databases are supposed to be separate.
Yeah.
For good reason.
Yeah.
You don't want all this shit
A lot of fail-safes would be great.
You do not want all this shit in one place because if it were to fall into the wrong hands, and it seems, a matter of time more than anything, like it's when, not if, you don't want every single thing about
you would want at the very least to mitigate
place.
The amount of data that people are getting their hands on.
Yeah, I mean, and there's also, of course, laws about how this data is supposed to be handled.
Yes.
And they seem to have completely ignored those laws.
And there's a little company called Palantir who is perfecting this.
Yeah, it's also unclear, who developed this app, who's running this app, because they're not building apps down at, like, DHS headquarters.
No, it's probably just vibe coded.
You're bringing in a third party here,
Grok made
that has access to kind of an insane amount of information. And it's like, for now, it's just data related to undocumented people or whatever. But it could very easily become more of a Clearview AI thing where they're just gobbling up everything and putting it on there. Seems bad. Like this is how you end up with it's become so normalized. A lot of people won't even remember a time before we had TSA screenings at the airport. But this is kind of taking that a step further and just like the world is fucking TSA. And like at any point they can make you take your shoes and your belt off and stand in the fucking scanner.
Yeah. It's always nice to, walk amongst everyone else wondering if maybe today your dignity will be taken away in front of others.
Yeah. Saw an Instagram video recently. It was just a guy just took off his pants and just took it all off before going in the scanner. And just
I got nothing to hide, so here you go.
Yeah, just fuck it.
Yeah.
This is already so just demeaning and stupid. Let's just take it further.
Yeah.
Anyway, it continues. From these videos, it seems like ICE has started using live face recognition in the field. Allison McDonald, assistant professor of computing and data science at Boston University, told 404 Media in an email. McDonald previously worked on a Georgetown Law Center on Privacy and Technology report into ICE's data-driven deportation strategy. The growing use of face recognition by ICE shows us two things. That we should have banned government use of face recognition when we had the chance because it is dangerous, invasive, and an inherent threat to civil liberties, and that any remaining pretense that ICE is harassing and surveilling people in any kind of precise way should be left in the dust. Matthew Guariglia, senior policy analyst at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, EFF, told 404 Media in an email. Ranking member of the House Homeland Security Committee, Benny G. Thompson, said in a statement, Mobile Fortify is a dangerous tool in the hands of ICE, and it puts American citizens at risk of detention and even deportation. He also said, ICE officials have told us that an apparent biometric match by Mobile Fortify is a definitive determination of a person's status, and that an ICE officer may ignore evidence of American citizenship, including a birth certificate, if the app says the person is an alien. ICE using a mobile biometrics app in ways its developers at CBP never intended or tested is a frightening, repugnant, and unconstitutional attack on Americans' rights and freedoms.
I'm glad that there's a Benny Thompson working at the EFF to counter the narrative being put out there by Benny Johnson on the right.
Yeah.
But no, this is actually really, really terrifying.
Yeah, and it's also, they're using it on illegals or people they suspect.
No, they're using it on fucking everyone.
Right,
Yeah.
but it's not much of a leap to start using this shit, start tracking your movements everywhere you go.
Mm-hmm. Who's to say that they can't just put something in there that when you scan a certain person, they pull them over and they're like, all right, well, we're just going to make this person a false thing so we can arrest them and bring them in. Or just look at it and be like, yep, it said that you're here illegally.
Yeah, where we got all your social medias here.
Because apparently
you've been real critical of our president, and that, it does check enough boxes for us to label you Antifa. And as you know, Antifa has been designated as a foreign terror organization, so we got to arrest you on terrorism charges. It's it sounds crazy, but the amount of shit that's happened in just the last 10 months is pretty unprecedented.
I'd say so. It is. There's nothing good about this, folks. Nothing good about it.
All bad. Oops, all bad.
Yeah. Anyways, we do have more coming up this week, believe it or not. And we will get to that.
We didn't even talk about Trump taking his, what was clearly a dementia test.
And they were like, I aced the IQ test again.
Talking about it like an IQ test, but every detail he gave about it, people who actually work in these fields were like, no, he's describing a dementia test.
They said I did very nice. And then the Japanese prime minister walked me around and showed me around.
A bunch of people, all of whom are black and women, who I will now list, would have done terrible on the test.
He does that a lot. That's it's not a dog whistle anymore when he says
IQ.
Low IQ.
Yeah, when he pretty much exclusively uses that
about black women.
About black women, and it's interesting pattern.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll talk about
lots
and lots of things.
We will get to that stuff.
The news never stops.
Yeah. Anyways, we do have more for you to watch. It's going to pop up in a second, but this episode wasn't sponsored. I don't think anything is this week, so you're the sponsor this week. Yeah. You are the sponsor. So click the join button, become a paid member today. We'd really appreciate it. And make sure you watch other videos, but mainly hit the like button. You're on your way out anyway. Just scroll down, click it, and then you're free to go.
Yeah.
All right? Okay. If we don't see you before Halloween, have a happy Halloween.
Have a happy Halloween.
Have a happy Halloween. Bye.
Bye.